Good evening and welcome to the Medina County Career Center Board meeting. Welcome to everyone tonight. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. May I please join me for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer, roll call, please.
Mrs. Payne? Here. Mr. Gillingham?
Here.
Mr. Huska?
Here.
Mr. Nowak? Here. Ms. Pritchard? Here. Mrs. Pavlik?
Here.
Mr. Kieran?
Here.
Mr. Steiger?
Here.
Mr. Madsen?
Here. Thank you so much, sir. Letter D, our mission statement. As always, we are a learning community providing students with a competitive advantage through career technical education and academic excellence. And that is tonight a perfect segue to number 2, the Ken Cleveland Foundation. We're going to have a resolution here, and before we can discuss that, we need a motion to bring forward. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Valerie will say first, is there a second? Mr. Huska, thank you so much. Mr. Superintendent?
It is a great honor for me to introduce one of the 4 board members for the Ken Cleveland Foundation, Mr. Robert Bucks. He's been very instrumental in putting the agreement together, and I think it would be appropriate, if you don't mind, sir, to talk a little bit about Ken Cleveland and what the mission and purpose of the foundation is, so that they would understand that. Thank you, sir.
I'm Robert Bucks. I'm an attorney with Williams & Batchelder up on the square in Medina. And before we get too far along, I want you all to know that Chuck and I were the percussion section of the Medina Community Band for more years than we did now. What's important tonight is the name Ken Cleveland. Ken Cleveland was born in Massachusetts, north of Boston. He came to Ohio, enrolled in an apprenticeship carpenter program in Cleveland. He built many of the buildings on the east side of Cleveland. He was an entrepreneur from a young age, and he finally decided he could do this himself. And so he came to Medina County and started Ken Cleveland Builders. He ended up at one time being one of the 100 largest home builders in the country. He built more individual residences than any builder in Medina County. The largest concentration was in Brunswick, but there's also a good concentration in Medina and in the townships. I was pleased to be Ken's lawyer. As Ken grew older, aren't we all anymore, he and I talked about creating a foundation. This is an Ohio nonprofit corporation, tax exempt for federal and state taxes, recognized by the Internal Revenue Service. We did form the Ken Cleveland Foundation. It has a board of managers. During Ken's lifetime, Ken would put money into the foundation and we would make gifts. The foundation was formed in 1997. In 2019, Ken passed away after a long illness, and I think I can tell you without breaching any confidence that he left essentially everything he had to the Ken Cleveland Foundation. The Ken Cleveland Foundation is the largest single foundation in Medina County. We have a number of goals, but the one that's most important to us is our second purpose, and that is to do all we can to advance vocational education in Medina County in the public schools. So we have been watching the decrease in the number of tradespeople. Anybody that's tried to hire someone to come fix your plumbing, put in light fixtures, or build a house knows how few contractors there are available. Ken saw this and realized how he had gotten his start that led to his wealth. And so the purpose of the foundation is to help vocational education in the county. Now that fast forwards to a chance meeting with your superintendent at Medina County Economic Development Corporation, Frank Festi, now retired of the CPA firm of Ray Associates, and I were both at the meeting. And we had occasion to talk to Steve and told him that we thought we had some money that might be available for vocational education in Medina County. And I'll be very honest with you, what I was thinking about was maybe we could help supply materials or tools if you wanted to restart the construction program would build a residence and then sell it to someone. But you all know your superintendent better than I. He is a big thinker, and we talked, and then we had another meeting with him, and then he invited us all to come out. I think we were in this very space. We had a very nice lunch, and we had a tour of the facilities. And the long and the short of it is, he told us that if we could expand the construction trades facility, that he thought he could double the number of students that come out of the construction trades program every year. This is like Ken Cleveland is sitting on my shoulder whispering in my ear that this is exactly purpose number 2 of this foundation we created 26 years ago. That led to your superintendent producing a series of documents for us. We've seen site plans, some estimates of cost, and very important for our standpoint is the number of students that you have to turn away because you just don't have enough space in the construction trades center for everyone who wants to come into the trades. Long story short, Mr. Chrisman made a pitch to us that if we could come up with $500,000 a year for 5 years, he thought he could come up with the rest of the money, and we could build a brand new construction trades center. After meeting with him and Ms. Whistle as well, at our board meeting, we had a private board meeting, and we decided we could do a little better than that. So we're prepared to give you $1 million within 10 days and give you $500,000 a year on the anniversary of that $1 million gift for the next 3 years. It's certainly possible we could accelerate that. Now, folks, I want to tell you, we put some conditions on the agreement. If you've read through the charitable gift agreement, you'll see those conditions. One is what we call naming rights. We would like to have the name Ken Cleveland prominently displayed on the outside of the construction trades building. I hope as you discover more about Ken Cleveland, maybe some of you knew him, you will find that it's an honor to have his name on the building. We would like to have a plaque inside that says the Ken Cleveland Foundation helped provide money. Why is that? It's not for the glory of the foundation. It's that we hope others will see that, and others with these kind of purposes will come to us, because we've still got some money to pass out. The Ken Cleveland Foundation is going to exist in perpetuity, and we'll have a sizable amount each year. In fact, your superintendent, being a big thinker, said to me after we had talked about the $2.5 million, he said, it would be nice after that's done if the Ken Cleveland Foundation could become a partner to the vocational school, because he knows how much we have to pass out every year. You may know federal tax law requires that we pass out 5% of our assets, at least, every year. The other conditions we built on are that you actually have to build this building. So we like Mr. Chrisman, and he said to us he can guarantee he's going to build this building, but we've sort of been around the block and we know that things can happen. And so we're going to give you $1 million once you and we have signed this within 10 days. And that's yours to keep. If you end up not building the new construction trade center, we're going to be disappointed. And we reserve the right to suggest another construction trades program in your school. Money is yours, but another construction trades program that can use that money. We don't want it to go to pave the driveway or to put new air conditioners on the roof, things like that. And then the $500,000 gifts are contingent upon, at the first one, that you're well on your way to constructing this. Mr. Chrisman has told us that he hopes to have this open in fall of 2024 for that first class of double the number of construction trades. And so a year from now, we'll give you another $500,000 if you're underway and you're on that schedule. And then after that, the next two $500,000 gifts, one on each anniversary, continuing. The only condition there is that you're using the building, that you're pumping students through there, and you're turning out the trades. Ken Cleveland would be very proud to participate in the Career Center, and he'd be very pleased, as Mr. Chrisman tells me, that you have almost 100% placement rate for students who come through the construction trades. So we have the funds, we're prepared to give them to you. I'm perfectly happy to answer any questions you may have for me right now.
Well, no, I'd certainly like to thank you for what you've done, working with Mr. Chrisman the way you have. and the proposal that Steve has given us and the way he's talked to us. And knowing growing up in the Cleveland, Brunswick area myself, I never met him, but I sure heard a lot about him. And we are so grateful and thankful that you're willing to take us under your wing and provide what you're doing for the children and the community, because this building trades, like you say, is something that has to be. Everywhere you look, there's people building houses, buildings, and you constantly hear, well, it's a year away because we don't have anyone to do the roof, and we don't have anyone to do the plumbing. And so if we can pump out the trade, with it being a high dollar trade on top of it, it should be fantastic for everyone.
Those of you who are from Brunswick may know that the Cleveland Clinic Emergency Department bears the Camp Cleveland name. That was another large gift the foundation was able to make. And last year, we gave $1.25 million to University Hospitals for a cancer infusion center in Medina County. So Camp Cleveland made his money in Medina County. Now, listen, he also made money in Florida. He was in Cape Coral, Florida, and did pretty well down there too. But he made his money in Medina County. He wanted his money to be used in Medina County, and he would be delighted that Mr. Crispin and you build this construction trade center, and that you start pumping out twice as many students a year as you can right now.
I would just like to comment, because I can attest, because many moons ago, I lived in a Cleveland home, and the quality, I mean, it really was a quality construction. So.
Well, his field manager, Les Fuller, is on our board, and Ken's personal secretary in his company, Linda Sawyer, is on our board. His longtime financial manager, George Matsko, was also on the board. George passed away about 6 months ago. So the people on our board are closely connected to Ken. I think he'd be pleased that somebody here had a Ken Cleveland home and liked it. So thank you for that.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mr. Bucks, we will be sure that we have a ribbon cutting for the opening school next year.
Well, we'd like to get the ribbon cutting for the construction trade center, and maybe that'll coincide with your 50th anniversary. We'd like to be at that event. The more people that see the name Camp Cleveland Foundation realize that we are organized to make charitable gifts for healthcare in Medina County, for construction trades in Medina County. The more people that hear about that and come to us with good requests like this one, the better we're able to serve the county and fulfill what Ken wanted us to do.
Thank you.
Very good.
So we currently have a motion on the table. May I have roll call, sir?
Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Huska? Aye. Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Gillian?
Aye.
Mr. Noah? Aye. Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mr. Schreiber?
Aye.
Mr. Mattson?
Aye, thank you. May we take a short 5-minute break so we can say thank you, Mr. Bucks? I'm not gonna say the whole meeting. Quick, 4 or 5 minutes. The approval of the consent agenda. A motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Questions or comments on today's agenda? No? Okay, thank you. That being none, may we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Gillian? Mr. Huska? Aye. Mr. Noah? Aye. Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Schreiber? Aye. Mr. Mattson?
Aye, thank you so much, sir. Number 4, public participation. This is the time of the meeting where members of the public may speak to the board about any topics they would like. Please keep the conversation to 3 minutes. If you so choose, state your name and your township from residence. Do we have anybody? Okay, thank you. That being none, we're going to move on to the next regular scheduled board meeting. It will be June 27, 2023 at 6 p.m. Same location here in the building. Educational presentation. High school, Mr. Superintendent.
I would like to introduce Mr. Tad Fitch, and he will present his 2 friends from Brunswick. So Mr. Tad Fitch is our Director of Pupil Personnel. So So he oversees all of our programming for students with disabilities, but he has a slash to his name, and he's also in charge of all of our satellite programming throughout the district. So he's going to take it from there, and then our two friends from Brunswick are going to present as well.
Good evening, everyone. So some of you obviously are new to the board, and some of you have been around and have been here longer than I have, but there's been a lot of really interesting and good developments with Project Lead the Way over the last 7 years that we've had this programming. So just as a little review before we go into the exciting news, the buildings that we have Project Lead the Way partnerships with right now are Brunswick High School and Middle School. They're our oldest partners going back to the beginning of this programming. Then we had Buckeye and Buckeye Junior High. Highland was our newest partner that joined up this year at the middle school level, and that's been really nice to work with them. Medina High School, AI Root, and Claggett. And then we're a little unique because we have a partnership with St. Ambrose also, which has been really productive this year. And they even came out and participated in our dragster race and had a good time with that. And really, it's nice to have that across the entire county to be able to offer these programs. The next slide, if we look at the numbers in the county, we don't go back past the prior 3 years, but if you look at every single year, besides the 1,000 students that we have in the building that we serve directly here on site, this is a combination of Project Lead the Way and our career-based intervention classes with Buckeye and Brunswick as well. You can see those numbers go from 1,300 up to just under 3,000 for the present year. We don't have final numbers for next year, but we anticipate that it's going to stay similar to that or even expand further in the future because there's still room for growth. Now, I have to apologize to Chris Kalina for this next item here. He did the senior survey, which he's going to, at some point in the future board meeting, really go into detail. And we all know how thorough and enthusiastic he is about presenting what our seniors thought about the buildings, all the pros and cons, and mostly pros that they come through. This is something that he shared with us, and I went to him and asked, and I know it's painful because he loves presenting this information, so I'm kind of stealing this from him, but for the first time, and this was based on conversation at a prior board meeting, I believe, this year, there was an item on there about Project Lead the Way, and this really kind of starts to show what does this programming do as far as our future here. The students start in middle school. We have the districts connected to that, and we also have the Career Center's name on that, and they're aware. Our buildings have done a fantastic job about highlighting these partnerships and really letting it be known that it's not just the district's Career Center, and we work really well together. It's a nice partnership. So 42% of students said that participating in Project Lead the Way classes before coming to the Career Center helped you decide to attend the Career Center. 42% of the seniors that were exiting said that yes, that was a factor. So that was far more than I even anticipated. Middle schools really, a lot of them, students will have to take classes once they get to high school. It's a desire. And there's very robust high school program, which you'll hear a little bit about here in a few minutes, but that's a choice. So the fact that they go through middle school to something in some of the buildings where it's not optional, it's just an elective class they take, they get to the high school, they continue on with some of that. That really speaks to the quality of the instructors and what they're doing in class with the students. This is the big news for this. We have 5 of our partner schools that qualified for distinguished Project Lead the Way buildings. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means, because on paper that sounds nice, but what is it? So the buildings that got recognized first of all, we had AI Root, Claggett Middle School, St. Ambrose, Brunswick High School, and Medina High School. This is very prestigious to get this as far as STEM programming, so science, technology, engineering, and math. There's roughly, if this was accurate on the numbers there, 3,136 schools in Ohio, and just 54 of them got this distinguished Project Lead the Way merit. So that tells you it's not just something you get automatically because you offer this program in the school. So I think 5 out of 50-some schools in Ohio are doing pretty good in Medina County with these partnerships. Application process, we do this together. So the district coordinators for Project Lead the Way, each district that we work with has their own that kind of is a go-between on some of this, and they help me fill out these applications. It's some things we can fill out that are based on what programs are offered, what supports do you do. The district fills out all the demographic information about how many students are there, what classes are they taking. And for middle school, they have to have half the students that participated in one Project Lead the Way Gateway class, which is one of the 7th and 8th grade classes that are offered. And then 25% had to have done at least 2 of those. So really getting exposed to those science and technology engineering early concepts. And then for high school, they have to offer at least 3 classes in the biomed pathway. And then the 33% of the students have to have taken more than one of those classes. So they take it, they like it, they're getting the good skills and information out of that, and they decide to carry on. So that's obviously what you want. You don't want them to do a one and done. You want them to continue on, because the whole point of Project Lead the Way is to promote STEM fields and ensure that we're getting a robust number of students that are going into those careers post-high school, because that's such an important thing for our economy. It's not a given to qualify for this. You have to submit, the school has to submit a pretty detailed response about how they're having reasonable proportional representation as regards to race, ethnicity, poverty, and gender. And the reason they have this in here is because if you look at traditionally, for some of the hard science fields in the past, it's been disproportionate as far as the ratio of men to women and ethnic minorities, racial minorities. So this is a way, what are the schools doing to make sure all students have an equal opportunity to get into these classes? Well, they're all doing a fantastic job with this because it's presented to every student. It's in the handbook, the counselors talk to them. It's presented to every single student in the building equally. And they have to basically list all the things they're doing. And Project Lead the Way has to say, yes, this is a good model of what you're doing. We had a couple buildings that didn't qualify purely based on there wasn't enough percentage of students that were in the program compared to the student body. So not getting this is not a knock. Like I said, you have 50-some buildings out of 3,000 some. That's not a negative on any building that didn't qualify, but it does really give credit to the ones that did. So the next thing on this I want to introduce are 2 teachers from Brunswick High School who are kind enough to give out some of their time tonight. So we have Zara Sunchek, who does human body systems at Brunswick High School, and Mike Sponseller, who does biomedical innovation. So they're going to talk a little bit about what this partnership with the Career Center and their district, what that has allowed for students and some of those opportunities.
Right, so just like Chad said, I'm Sarah Zenchuk, this is Mike Sponseller. I also co-teach with my husband at Brunswick High School. Between 3 of us, we teach all 4 years of the biomedical science pathway. They're full year-long classes, and they can take it traditionally from a freshman all the way through their senior year. So first of all, I want to say thank you. Without this program, students are just not getting those amazing opportunities that get them ready for the next step, phase in life, whatever that may be. Due to your support and your partnership, we're able to provide students with hands-on biomedical science education, and that promotes 21st century thinking and skills. I can't speak for the other classes, but I teach the second year of it, human body systems, and it's all about the human body and what goes wrong with it. So I give my kids case studies all the time, and I just don't, I guide them, but it's like, figure it out. Like, what's going on with that patient? What are the signs? What are the symptoms? And then based on what body system that we're in, that kind of helps them guide them to the answer. Throughout the 4-year program, it's okay. Throughout the 4-year program, we go over 50 biomedical science careers, which is just amazing. We don't do the traditional doctor, nurse. We're talking about forensic anthropologists, we're talking about respiratory therapists, we're talking about many different things that students may not have heard unless they start exploring those options. We're able to do very amazing labs, such as gel electrophoresis, which is just comparing DNA bands. And we're able to even go on field trips. Mike will explain a little bit about Heidelberg. We're able to go to the university and do some amazing things there. We have a really nice partnership with the Forensic Emergency Room. They let us explore that. And we took a couple years off because of the pandemic, but this year we're starting a Biomed Day again, which is where we invite over 20 different careers, and it's just like a traditional science career fair, and they're walking around in different booths and once again asking those questions and seeing if they like that profession before, they're just getting that proper exposure before they start taking school and deciding it may not be for them. So asking those questions is just huge. So this is just the 4 years. Year 1's Principles of Biomedical Science, that's just a huge forensics-based class. They investigate a murder, potential murder, and all the steps to go through that. I already talked about year 2. Year 3, medical interventions, which turns into an honors course. They're learning about prevention and diagnosis of disease. And Mike, you want to give a little spiel on year 4?
When we get there.
Oh, you're going to get to it, yeah, so we'll keep going. So I thought pictures are 1,000 words, so I'll just briefly describe some of the amazing labs and activities that we get to do. So this is year one picture. So right when they walk in day one, that is a blow up person with my donated clothes, and we have this murder scene, and they're investigating a crime scene on day one. They learn about fingerprinting. They do a blood splatter lab, which is really cool. They're learning how you drop blood at different angles. Was the person, that attacked that person, were they walking? Were they, at the angle of where the incision came from? So it's just really cool to see that. And that's what I was talking about too with the gel electrophoresis, to see that just light up. So for my year, the most amazing thing is that we have these things called mannequins. And basically, after I talk about a body system, we build it. So it's very three-dimensional. That clay never dries out. And all year long, we build. So this was a mannequin. By the end of the year, you can see muscles, you can see arteries, you can see the urinary system, the digestive system, on the side, the brain. So it's just amazing to talk about something and then build it and visually represent it. I have a pharmacist that came in and talked to my kids because we do a pharmacology unit. Moving on to more pictures. Measuring lung capacity. We do cow eye dissections. I'm sorry, keep going. I'll speed up a little bit. This is MI pictures. Doing bacterial conjugation is basically they learn antibiotic resistant and they're making a superbug, which is really cool. DNA microwave, where they're looking at how genes get turned on and off.
Okay, and then first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Sponseller, as you heard. I just finished my 20th year in Brunswick. So I've seen a fair number of students and a fair number of traditional classes, but a little more than a year ago, Sarah, her husband Andrew, and some other people from Brunswick approached me, asked me if I wanted to teach year 4 biomedical innovation. So I said, sure, I'd love to change. And as I got more and more used to what the course was about and learned what was taught, I got more and more excited. Because think of this, if someone were to ask you, what's the perfect class to take if you were a student, right? My wager would be some of the answers I would get is hands-on, real-world learning, and no test or quizzes. That's exactly year 4. And so the kids absolutely love it. Because basically what we do is we take all the material from the previous 3 years that both Andrew and Sarah taught, and they basically put all of that into action. And they do a lot of really, really fun projects. Here's a great one, and ironically enough, actually go back one. The first unit of the year that the students need to do is that they actually have to design and build their own ER, actually a model of it. And so what they have to do is they become very familiar with all the ins and outs of how an ER works, the staff who works there, the equipment, and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that we did is that we actually walked across the street to the Ken Cleveland ER clinic. And basically they got a really in-depth tour of how it works. And so it was really, really eye-opening. I mean, the majority of our students have been, are familiar with ERs, but they never got this up close to look at it. So they asked a lot of really, really good questions. I think they learned a lot. And then when they came back, they actually built their models. And they did an outstanding job. I was very, very surprised at just how intricate a lot of their plans actually came out to be. So that's something that we did. I don't have a picture for it, but just to give you another example of a project they did. About midway through the year, they had to come up with a public health program. Essentially what they did is that they picked an issue in public health that they felt was a very important one. And it might be something like diabetes, it might be something like mental health. And basically what they had to do is come up with a big overall public health program that could be implemented in real world situations. And so what I did is I then invited Krista Wazowski, who's the Medina County Health Commissioner. She came in and she listened to all of their presentations. And so they had to talk to her about what they would do, and so she gave them feedback and all that sort of stuff. So they got some exposure into someone who obviously is a professional in her field. And then Sarah alluded to this a little bit, but one of the things that we did this past year with our year 3 and 4 students is that we took a trip to Heidelberg. Where both Sarah and her husband actually graduated. And they got an absolutely amazing tour of all of their facility, in addition to all of the science and medical programs that they have there. And one of the things they did, and I was a little bit nervous about how our students would do with this, but they got a tour of the cadaver lab. And so here we are, we have some juniors and seniors in high school who willingly went into a cadaver lab, and they actually got hands-on, and they touched things, they held things, and all that sort of stuff. And they conducted themselves amazingly. So that was one of the things they did, and I think they did really good. So they got that opportunity as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Just a little plug for Heidelberg. It's a very personal college or university. One of the examples is their president came out. And as you can see in this picture, he was talking to our students. And one of the things that he brought with him were the actual report cards of both Sarah and Andrew. And so he held them up and he read them off and all that sort of stuff. So he actually went through the files and pulled those out from when he graduated and shared that with our students, and they got a really, really big kick out of it. Yeah, and so there's some other pictures where they get the tour of the campus. And we weren't allowed to take pictures of the actual cadavers for pretty obvious reasons, but we can see here that they had a little talk before they went in, and then on the right you can actually see some of the students who are actually working with the cadavers. He also saw maybe some fields that you don't typically think about when it comes to medical science, such as environmental health and water quality, so they also did some stuff for that too. And of course, chemistry and genetics is a big field in science, kind of behind the scenes stuff, so they've got some more experience with how things go on with that.
And for a side note too, the professors, especially in the genetics lab rotation, they're touching micropipetting. That's a skill. It's not the easiest thing to do. And freshmen coming into our program learn how to do a micropipette right away. So our students that went juniors and seniors, the genetics professor was like amazed of how well their pipetting skills were. And they're not even into that next phase of life yet. So just once again, this program provides just real life application to whatever they want to do once they leave Brunswick.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add to that is that a lot of our students, the seniors who just left, many of them, most of them are going to go into the medical field. I know we have several people who want to be nurses. We have one, if I get this right, he's going to be a pediatric anesthesiologist and stuff like that. But there are students who said they are not going to go into the medical field. And we feel that that's okay too, because all of our students are leaving now with a newfound appreciation for how the medical field works. They're better educated for both themselves and family members. So I think all in all, it's an amazing program for our kids, no matter where they end up at. Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
Comments?
Are you going to set up a database to track those students so that you can see as the years go by how many students actually are in the medical field?
Yeah, so my husband actually this summer, he's working on a website because he started the program 7 years ago, so he's starting to, he already has students already out the medical profession. Like when we do Biomed Day in November, we're going to ask some students to go through. He has an old student that is a licensed EMT now. So we asked, the last time we did Biomed Day, he came and brought his ambulance through his company. So it's just making those connections and things like that. He has students going to medical school right now, doing cancer research. So they're in their master's degrees right now, but we're definitely working on a database so we can, same thing, promote and recruit future students, because this program really helps students to get to that next step.
Now, is this the program that Chloe's getting involved in the next year or two?
It is going to be, I'm sorry.
Chloe,
There's been some discussions about that. I know that I think the facility is waiting for the new high school to open, and there's going to be more conversation, but certainly from our standpoint, in the past, there's been some conversation that they've been interested in, and we would love to be partners with them for that.
Yeah, because we've talked about this extensively at the board meetings, and Billy Schmock originally brought it to us from here, and he really pushed for it, and when there was negativity, some people don't like change. Billy, he likes change, so do I. I pushed for STEM for years because hands-on is the only way anyone really knows. So when Billy brought it in, I was elated. And he really pushed for it, and we have recently this year just talked about putting it in a new building. So now when we do get that, because I'll guarantee we're going to vote yes on it, the teaching of that, are you Brunswick teachers, or do you belong to this? And you get paid separately from a grant or a service, or are you paid from the local?
I can help with that one. So all of the teachers in Project Lead Way currently are employed by their home district. What we do is the percentage of the day that they're teaching Project Lead the Way, we cover that percentage of their salary and any training needs that they have. So there are requirements where they have, it's pretty extensive training too over the summer. It's condensed down into a period of a few weeks, but it's really, really intensive. And we do cover the cost of the training. We help schedule and register for that. And then we work with the district, obviously, to identify who they want to send for the trainings and happy the teachers for that. But they would be Cloverleaf teachers in this case.
Because even though we talked extensively about it, that was never brought up or clarified at the meeting. So when the time comes, when we bring it up again, I'd like to have you come and talk to us about it. So
Absolutely.
somebody knows the ins and outs. That's a fantastic program.
And that's something we're trying to do, is build a network with all the teachers and schools in the area that are teaching WW. So that would be something we'd be more than happy to come out and talk to teachers or have them come shadow some of our classes even. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, well, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yes, could you comment on the parents' reaction to these programs?
I think that, I mean, that's a really good question.
I have a really good one with that.
You do have a really good one?
I have a parent.
Do you have a parent? Go ahead, you do it then.
So, well, okay, this might be a little biased. So I had all seniors this year, and actually I had my own daughter in class. So she, how should I put this? She's a free spirit. So she does well at school, but she really likes to do things. I've never seen her so pleased with the class in my life. And once again, with at least for year 4, and I'm sure that all the other years are the same way. Really and truly, it's not the teacher in front of the class majority of the times. It's the students actually doing stuff. So I was really on the side for most of the time observing her. And even though it's her senior year, she really got into things. So she absolutely loved it. Yes. First thing basis, both from the teacher's perspective and the parents. That was my experience.
Yeah, just a side comment too. I know the students, like, we're very open with our program and what we do, and we let students take pictures, and there's always conversations of, look what I did when I got home, because I'll run into parents, and like Marina Wilson, I live actually around the corner from one of my students, and her mom was just amazed, because they just went on that field trip in September, and just on and on and on, like, Marina's talking about wanting to go in chemistry now, and it's because of this program. So we do get a lot of positive feedback from the parents about, just helping them, guide them what they want to do.
See, I think one of the things we have to do more of in high schools is do more, hands-on, practical, real-life things that kids are interested in. Instead of theoretical, general, blah, 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 and put them to actual, get them out of the student position and into the teaching position and into the practical participation. And I think that what you guys are doing is amazing. And any program like this is only as good as the teachers, and I've heard some amazing things about it through it.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's I'm going to brag a little bit. Project Lead the Way is just my favorite part of the day. It's, my kids are just, their gears are constantly turning, and just being the facilitator, not like I said, I'm not standing up there lecturing for hours about the endocrine system. I'm giving them a patient and like what's going on with their hormone levels and what's going on, like why does he have these symptoms, and it's amazing to have those authentic conversations with them and to really see them grow.
Have you seen a decrease in the use of these, like going like this during class, because they are actually hands-on? Because what you said, was awesome. It's like getting them to put this down, put down the laptops, the Chromebooks and stuff, and actually get their hands working on.
Well, yeah, and that's the best thing is too. They want to take pictures of what they're doing. Like they're not, like I said, they're not distracted by their phones. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to show my friends. I want to, especially the cow eye section every year. Like, oh my gosh, I want to take pictures and I want to show my friends. I want to show my family. So it just kind of turns it into a different angle of just they're so engaged.
And even if it didn't go into the medical field, with the stressing on the chemistry, the science, the math, that leads into a lot of other high-dollar, high-value positions and jobs. So you don't really necessarily have to go into medical, because once you take a path and you start to grow, well, the sky's the limit once your mind opens up the other side. You got 2 hemispheres, and you see the whole galaxy as opposed to here, you know, like I always like to say, with the, what do they call it? The general course study, you know, the Stepford wise, everyone doing the same thing. And so, I mean, what do? You're not growing, you're not maturing. That's why I love the Career Center so much more than the standard school, because I've always said, it's a step between high school and college. When people would say the Career Center, oh, that's where people go. No, that's where they go to learn to be. And they're a step between. And then the more I learn about the Career Center, the more I'm involved in the Career Center, I think a lot of times, you know, they are actually at college level because they've made a mature choice in life to be something. They've taken a direction and they walk out and they've got a top ranked job.
So there's more and more interest each year in your programs?
Yes.
And are you able to handle all the kids that want to participate?
So the Career Center is beyond supportive. Next year, for the first time ever, I have 4 sections of human body systems. So I'm going to have 100 kids. Super excited. Within reason, I used to say I need more equipment, and they're always, yes, whatever you need, whatever. I've never been told no yet. But they are just always on board in whatever I want to do. When I brought the field trip, they're like, absolutely, give me a proposal. We'll make it work. And it's just, the support is just overwhelming. So we appreciate that.
I'll second that. The Career Center is extremely supportive. And the word is getting out more and more at Brunswick. They're like, what are you guys doing in that class? Or, you know, or they're just bragging about things that we've done or are going to do. So that is increasing enrollment as well, just word of mouth only. I mean, for example, her husband, he teaches PLTW all day long. That's the only course he teaches. And then that's why they brought me on last year, is because they needed more teachers to do it. So yeah, it's growing for sure.
Now these studies they'll replace, and so you'll get your full credit for science or math or chemistry.
They count as a science elective, so some students, they'll still do their traditional science pathway. We have students that graduate anywhere between 7 to 8 credits of science. They'll do their traditional, what they need through the state, physical science, biology, chemistry, physics, and then on top of it, they love science so much, they'll take that addition too. So they have tons of science by the time they leave Brunswick.
And in real life, math and science is what colleges are looking for. They give you the big step up, they give you the bigger scholarships.
Absolutely.
But that's where it's at, is science and math.
You're already going in ahead of a lot of the other students.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting here.
I have a question for you. So I see lots of medical stuff. Do you use BCI for any of your classes? So you will have BCI crime investigators? Do they come in?
We have in the past, but we do have a fingerprint kit. We would love someone to come and do that. We've always, I just recently reached out to our resource officer, Derek Slanka, and he actually didn't know if I didn't think about this before, but he's actually getting us some connections for our Biomed Day in the
So you
fall.
might reach out to BCI. So Mr. Simon, we just left, and I are both career law enforcement, and we would get a murder. First thing you do is call BCI, because they were the experts who came out with blood spatters. I would tell you 30 years ago, there was no such thing as blood spatters. You walked in and said, yeah, he got stabbed. You put him in the bag. You know, now it's a whole different science. You have the DNA collection in the blood spatter. The BCI is basically, there's an office ritual, and they come out with their van, and they do everything, fingerprinting, to take fingerprints off the knives, doors, walls, bodies, and it might be a great resource for you to bring that piece of it. Yeah, we'll have this with the blood spatters and the dead body laying on the ground. You have the real guys who do this for a living. I often get as police people say, I want to be a CSI investigator someday. They don't know what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's a heavy focus of year one. So we talk about all the different, you know, same thing when they're watching those TV shows, it's just the police officer that's going to the scene. That's not the case anymore. Like you said, they have to collect DNA evidence in so many formality ways that they learn about that.
I can just present a link for a friend of mine at BCI that you might connect with too.
That would be wonderful.
And then,
From Richfield.
and then lastly,
I have somebody from the lab.
That'd be
Oh, that
wonderful.
would be great.
That would be wonderful.
That's something we're trying to build a database of professionals and experts that can come into the school and talk to them all 4 of our years. So that would be more than appreciated.
Yeah.
so last thing for the board, 9 years ago it started, and it was Mr. Kuska, Mr. Gilliam was here, I was here. And it was kind of, for us, Buckeye had no programs, we had wiped out everything, no after-school program, no extracurriculars in 7th, 8th grade. We were looking for a way as a board, how do we do stuff for our home schools? because the person at the time had a nice balance on those. And just Kristen brought this as a suggestion. And this program grew. It started with just one guy in Brunswick originally.
Yes, Susan Medina was a year behind.
So this was just kind of a small program. But the first year when we went into this, it was how do we talk about MOUs, teachers who are working for Brunswick, and who's getting paid, and who's paying for the desks and the chairs. And this all came together. Always our goal was to do something back for homeschool kids. But we always knew that this would lead to this 42% of students who responded yes. They took that and now they want to go to the Career Center because that was our investment. So just so we know, this is about $1 million investment from us every year out of our budget. And we recruit about 600,000 between 5 and 6 back. So we've been out with a loss of about 400, but it's not a real loss. And this reminds me a lot of what we're doing with the development program. This is the beginning of something great. And so we're grateful that you're carrying this forward. This was our vision 9 years ago. So thank you.
I know with us moving more and more into police and everything, with the possibility of the new facility and everything, this would be great to have as part of that law enforcement class. This is just a great way to go.
Thank you so much.
So that was not exactly enough time. We did add a secondary action, presentation, and Dr. Engelhardt is every year since for the last 6 or 7 years has hired 2 student interns to be in her internship, and this year is no different. So Dr. Engelhardt, if you'd like to introduce Arian and Isaiah.
Thank you guys. Absolutely. These 2 gentlemen are from, do you have something that you need to show up on the screen? Or?
I do.
This is listed along. These 2 gentlemen are from software engineering, and they're wonderful gentlemen. They interviewed with me and a couple of my techs, or I should say the 2 techs, and they will be interning beginning June 1st, and they'll be helping us through the summer, applying their skills and learning some new ones. So we're excited to have them. So they're going to share some of, I guess, a project that you guys have been working on in software engineering.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, this is my own, but.
That's cool.
So while that loads, Arian, you want to tell everybody who the best football coach is in the whole building? It's not Coach Noah.
That's most definitely you.
So I was fortunate enough to coach both these young men in 6th and 8th grade. They just play with their whole hearts, and I was super excited when I saw them sign up for software engineering and web development. And then I kind of was following them a little bit to make sure they're doing okay, and I just saw them certificate after certificate after certificate. I believe you guys got every certificate you could get as a junior, correct?
Not everyone, but we've got all the required ones like pretty early.
And then Dr. Engelhardt, she was like, you know these 2 guys because they had applied. I was like, she said, well, you need to interview them as well. I was like,
You know what you're out of it.
Alright, well, this is not the updated version, but it's a sneak peek. So, I use HTML and JavaScript to make this like UI thing, which stands for user interface. These are supposed to, like, whenever you hover, like expand, and then the background turns to this. It's really cool, but as of right now, I'm having some technical difficulties, so I apologize. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry, guys.
talk about the program a little bit. What kind of certificates have you earned?
So me, I have Photoshop, HTML, CSS. I'm working towards Python now, and that is it. Now him, he has way more than me.
I have JavaScript, computational thinking, PowerPoint, Word, HTML, CSS, HTML application development. I was working towards software development, but we ran out of certificates, so I couldn't get it. But I'm almost definitely going to get it next year. I think that's it.
and both Medina City students, but what do you hope to do in the next, what do you hope to gain from the internship, and what do you hope to do in post-secondary?
So my goal for post-secondary is going to either OSU or Miami University for computer science. And as far as the internship goes, my goal for that is to gain some knowledgeable experience in the workforce so that can help me towards my future.
I hope to gain some experience from this, so I'll be able to get future jobs when I get out of the career center. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to college or not, but I think I'm going to go to college to gain some more things on my resume, and then I'm going to try to get an internship somewhere.
Do you guys have experience with artificial intelligence yet?
Artificial intelligence. I've actually been experimenting with a voice assistant. It's very hard, very hard, but it's not going too well.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Would that be the technology way in the future?
Yes, for sure.
Is it scary?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't understand a lot of it.
That's the problem.
There's so much to it. Like, it's so deep. Like, I don't even know, like 10% of it.
And you're smart.
There's a lot of people in the profession that are actually afraid of what our artificial intelligence can reach and what it can do to people's human life when it takes over. It's just like, because they have it doing anything and everything now. It's unbelievable.
Well, in my opinion, I think eventually artificial intelligence will get out there, so we might as well grow up with it and learn how to utilize it. But instead of trying to fear it, we should just try to understand.
Yeah, you got to embrace it because it's here.
It's nothing really.
Somebody has to know how to run it.
Problem is all the people with bad intentions are using it for the wrong reasons. I heard a news story that all it takes is a 5 seconds input of your voice.
They almost crashed scholarship yesterday at 29:30 because they posted on Twitter an explosion at the Pentagon. And it was an AI released by the Russians, and the stock market flipped. Everyone started calling it, and there was a release statement, there was no explosion at the Pentagon, and momentarily went back.
Any other questions for these two gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Congratulations. Very special work. No lunches. All right, thank you so much.
Just going into their senior year.
First, that approval, and that's made a motion to approve the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 25th.
Thank you, Mr. Pritchard. May I have a second? Mr. Gillingham, roll call, please.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Gillingham?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Huska? Aye. Mr. Nowak? Aye. Mrs. Badwick?
Aye.
Mr. Curran?
Aye.
Mr. Matt?
Aye, thank you so much. Number 8, treasurer's statement for information.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under items for information is the April financial projections.
Mr. Brooks, I have a question on that. I noticed that there was, on the line titled Other,
Yeah.
is a negative 16,624, but what drove that? What's
Without looking, I'm not sure exactly. It could have been an adjustment or we reduced the expense. So we got a sum of money where we reduced the expense. Basically, sometimes in reimbursement, when we get reimbursements from schools or other entities, I'll reduce the expenditure where that expense came out of, and then it's there. That's why it shows negative.
Oh.
But really, it's a positive
Okay.
figure that happens.
So what are the items that are grouped under other? I mean,
Investments,
Okay.
some of the, not investments, sorry. Other is like the sales tax. So for the county taxes, the auditor taxes, the real estate taxes, those all come out of each year. Now, our budget for that is $225,000, and so far, we've spent $221, and we have 2 months left. So it's pretty close. And then we do get some revenue kickbacks from that, from the county. Now, Auditor Kovach, he used to, it's hard to explain, but he would sit on money and then dole it back out after a certain period of time, like 3 years, and we'd all get a kickback of fees that weren't due or they didn't take. And that, part of that came from the state, and so that might have been part of that. Now, Mr. Capretta, he is not going to do that. So he's going to actually inflate our real estate proceeds in lieu of withholding the taxes or the fees on it. So he's not going to sit on the money, he's just going to dole it out as he sees fit based on real estate.
Because wasn't there a little small community, I think down in southern Ohio, that actually had about 20 years worth of money, and the community members found out about it, and they wanted to get reimbursed that their money's back, and I guess too much time has passed.
Are you talking about Rittman?
Is it Whitman? I think
Yeah,
it's
sure.
Whitman.
They had the incorrect income tax percentage on the books, and they were collecting more than what they needed to.
And
they
the community members weren't.
I think I think they went back a year. They took reimbursed for a year.
So something like that with the credits?
No, it has nothing to do with it. It's more related to sales tax and the state's view of sales, not sales tax, real estate taxes. Okay. Under item, any other questions? Okay. Under item, on treasurer action items, under item A is monthly financial statement, and monthly expenditure. Under item B is OASBO's 457 plan resolution as submitted. And then under item C is the May 23 5-year forecast. And I'm asking for approval of items A through C.
Second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments?
Well, I do have a couple
Yeah.
questions. I'm sorry. I noticed that there were 3 checks cut to BIVP Limo.
Yeah.
Could you provide some information on those?
Well, those are probably field trips
Field trips?
that the students
Utilize
take.
it?
Yeah.
We typically don't, but we were fortunate enough to purchase a bus from Black River, and then subsequently somebody here put gasoline in it and not diesel, so we had to go with VIP for a minute.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes
I
sense.
would like to tell you something better, but that's what happened.
No, that's okay.
Well, and
But our
sometimes,
diesel kids did fix it, and then if we try to reach out to Medina and their book, because our secondary has been Medina City Schools forever. And if we can't get a driver for them, then we'll switch over to VIP.
Okay,
when we have multiple
that makes
trips.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the board always encourages us to use local,
Yes.
so that was one of the reasons. Okay, I will talk about the 5-year forecast real quick, is that all right?
Please.
So I'll just go over just some highlights, if that's okay. Under the first item, so right here is unrestricted, this is our general revenue. We have been very fortunate. I know, I can't say that enough, but it just seems like the timing of everything, whether it be Ken Cleveland Foundation, the real estate taxes are going up to 13 million. That's a huge increase for us. And then now, unrestricted, which is our state foundation. Keep in mind, I don't put anything on there until it's official. As they are negotiating the biennium budget, I knew we were going to get an increase. I threw on $150,000 just as an earmark, which is a kind of a joke. But we will receive anywhere, based on some of the simulations we've seen, anywhere from $268,000 to $2 million. We don't know how that's going to work yet, but right now they are using, one of the things they're using is FY22 or 2022 salaries in lieu of 2018. Well, I can tell you right now that's a 10 to 20% increase because they were using old data to fund the schools based on the foundation. Well, once they move that up to a 5-year current, roughly current, 2022 figures, that is a huge jump for every school district in the state. So that's good. That's going to be good for us. As we go down the forecast, so let's go into the personnel. I will tell you, I've earmarked 4.5% to 5% increases for the personnel for FY24, and then 25 is a little lower based on what we negotiated with the union and the benefits package that we have. Insurance, sadly, all projections for insurance is up. Our claims are through the roof with the Suburban Consortium. I just read last night, Ashland City Schools, they have a self-funded plan. Their rates are up as well, and they're rolling those out. I'm projecting 12% renewal, but that's to be determined. We don't know what that number is going to be until at least August. But right now, 12% is built in to the benefits line, the insurance renewal. And then lastly, a big thing I want to touch on, the transfer out. This is our yearly transfer to the Permanent Improvement Fund. This does account for the summer project that's coming up. We already have that purchase order in place. And between that purchase order and sales tax proceeds that we're going to receive, I anticipate we'll move about $2.8 million to the Permanent Improvement Fund to cover transfers. Now, this transfer also covers transfers to the Rotary Fund that I'm going to have to make this year, and most likely adult ed. So that is inclusive of those transfers. And then I backed off a little bit on the building based on conversations with Mr. Chrisman and Mr. Matson, and we discussed a $1.5 million thereafter. What this does not include is obviously the Ken Cleveland increase, any construction trade program that we're going to do, that's not inclusive until we go forward with that, which will be next year. And once I receive proceeds or however we do that, whether it be a direct placement or a COPS deal, and depending on the length of time. So whether it's going to be a 5-year or 10-year, I'll know more then. And maybe actually in an October forecast, we'll have a better idea by then. But that's it. You can see the one thing I always have you guys look at is line 6.010, which is excess spending or deficit spending. If it's negative or in the red, we're deficit spending. If it's not, we're in the black and we're looking pretty good. So that's a good indicator of where we are. And then of course, this is where I anticipate we'll end the year based on certain things that come into play, as far as our cash flow and what's coming out for our personnel and payroll. But that should go up a little bit. That's more conservative result. Any questions?
Yeah, I got two. On the insurance, is there a employee part, do they pay 10%, 15% here?
So this year, they're actually paying 11%. Next year, they'll pay 12%, and then the third year, it'll be 13%. That's what we negotiate.
Okay, and then on the 1.5 incumbents, when we get the million from the Ken Cleveland Foundation, will that become a 500,000, or is that in addition to the 1.5? Would that be like 2.5 in construction? We had the 1.5 for construction.
Oh, for next year?
Yeah,
That's a transfer out. So yeah, that might reduce, but that was dependent on what project we were going to be doing next year at this time. And that's what we don't know until once we get through. We have an idea, but we don't know exactly what that cost is going to be yet. That will be a better number in October. May is more of an update, and I hate to say that, but May is more projection, I have to do these forecasts twice a year by law. In May, it's just more of, here's where we stand, this is what's come in so far, here's where I think we're gonna do. Especially during a biennial budget, we don't know what the budget's gonna come in as far as revenue, because right now the House and Senate are battling, and they're trying to decide what we're gonna go with.
Well, like even with the insurance, you estimate a 12% increase.
Right.
But you don't know for sure. Now, we got the Stark County COG, and they already said us that we're gonna get 8.5% increase. So,
And on line 3.03 purchase services, there's almost $1 million bump on that one.
Yep.
What is driving that?
Project Lead the Way. So every year at this time, I try and get the school treasurers to send me their invoices for Project Lead the Way. I always wanted to pay them in June to keep it in the current fiscal year. Never happens. So,
Because isn't that one of the things that the state auditors always?
no, the 1 year I didn't account for the liability that was due to the schools, even though I did it in the past and they knew it. But that was what they mentioned. So that is inclusive of the payment for Project Lead the Way for next year, well, this year. So it'll be this year work paid in July or August of next year.
Aaron, the insurance premiums that are going up, what does that actually cost us over the next 3 years?
Well, what am I projecting?
Yeah, I mean, based on you're saying it's going up to 12, 13.
Well, it's 12 right now. I don't know the actual cost until they give to us from the Suburban Consortium, but I'm projecting 12 this year and then 10 thereafter. I don't anticipate, I think a lot of people, we believe a lot of people didn't have those elective surgeries during COVID and the year after COVID. I think this is a catch-up, and we all believe that, like everyone's catching up to what they're doing and what they're having done. We're seeing a lot of cancer issues with patients or dependents, whatever. So we're seeing a lot of that because sadly, people didn't go to the doctor and they didn't listen to their bodies for whatever reason during COVID or thereafter. And now a lot of patients actually have cancer and now they're going back. I don't anticipate, I mean, the cost is just within reason of everyone else from what we're seeing, comparing other school districts, private sector.
yeah, we're seeing the same thing in our district where it wasn't necessarily that they put it off. Like in my case, I had 2 surgeries that they called, told me, there's no room for you. We've got X amount with COVID and this and that, and or we're closed. One time they closed the surgery. So there was no surgeries going on. And then all these other people bumped ahead of me, so I had to go into the following year for, prostate stuff. So it was like, man, but that happens. I mean, a lot of money got backed up.
12% for us is probably about 180,000 increase, but over the course of a year.
Be fully conservative, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane? Mr. Gillingham?
Aye.
Mr. Huska?
Aye.
Mr. Noah?
Aye.
Mrs. Tadler?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Mr. Mattson?
Aye. Now the superintendent's information items.
The first one is what we're required to do by law at the end of every school year and let you know whether there's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. This is supplied to us by Liz Schwartz, she's our crisis counselor. And in the first semester that there were no incidents, but there was one in the second semester, and it was handled at what's called a level 1 tier. Basically, brought them in and said, don't do it again, and the kid said sorry. So basically what it is. But again, we're required by law to share that information with you. So the other 2 things that are BNC are the Adult Ed Student Handbook And there is a lead page on there, so you can see for approval next year, you can see exactly what things will change through that. If you, it's probably not in your printed copies, but there are copies back here for you if you'd like to look them over. The audit staff handbook is presented in the same manner. Courses of study, we just got these recently, Todd Mason for construction trades and Brent Dansby, so they're a little bit behind the ones that are going on for approval tonight. They are here as well. This is a huge, huge, huge honor for Mrs. Radeball. Mrs. Radeball was selected by the Ohio ACTE as the Career Technical Educator of the Year, Special Needs Division. She was recommended for that position by honor by Molly Gray, one of her co-teachers, and subsequently won it. So this is big. We couldn't be any more proud of Tracy. Tracy is the one that teaches our Career and Community Experience program and does the program at Twisted and several other places. Huge. Principal's report. I'm going to have to go to the bullpen. Unfortunately, Mr. Hicks received a call about 3 minutes before the board meeting started that his mother-in-law had fallen, and so he did call in the bullpen, Ms. Dovis. So Ms. Dovis, if you could present some from the principal's report. Thank you.
Hi everybody. If you have been following us on social media at all, there is a lot going on at all times, especially in May. But we did highlight some things on our principal's report. I know this first thing is something that Mr. Hicks is extremely excited about. It's the Student Leadership Council. It is new. It's kind of gone through an application process. So the kids had to apply, and they're chosen based on their leadership in our career and technical student organizations and their involvement outside of the school and in the community. This group will be a focus on community service, getting the work out there. A lot of our labs already do that, but this group's going to be like the student leaders kind of driving that. So it's very exciting for us. I know you guys probably don't know me too much, but you will know that I am always driving on E. But now when I stop at my gas station, as I kind of go on fumes, I'm going to make sure to check out the gas pumps and the scales. The winning steals are some of our students here that won, and then we're going to be on the gas pumps in Medina County. So that's very exciting for us.
I'll interrupt for just a second. If you see one of your schools represented there, we do have copies of them if you would like to see them. So at the conclusion of the meeting, if you would like to take your associate schools with you, feel free to do so.
We also have a PDF or a JPEG.
JPEG, because it's a better source.
So that way you can send it back to your home school. I already sent mine to one guy.
And as Mr. Christman has already highlighted, Tracy received this honor. She is very deserving. She works very hard. I know most of you guys know her. Her enthusiasm is intense, and she has a drive that to get everything done for her students. It's all student driven, so she deserves that more than anyone. And then we have Mr. Watson. He has been selected to be at the Olympic and Paralympic training site, and that's this summer. So that's quite an honor for him. We had signing day here. We had 100 seniors that signed during this event. It keeps growing. This is our second one or third one. So every year it does grow. It's an exciting thing to have the community come in. Highlighted our students that competed for BPA Nationals. Also our community project with our construction trades program. They did a learning space over at AI Root. They also did some work down at Twisted as well. We have the Special Olympics. Some of our students competed under the Medina County Career Center. They could choose to compete under their home school or for the Career Center. So these students competed for us. They had a strong partnership with our sports med and exercise science students. They trained, they worked hard. You could see them if you walk past our gym area during the school day. You could see them training both in the gym and then outside. So they did wonderful. And then lastly, a lot of you guys went to our awards ceremony. It was amazing, one of my favorite days of the year for sure. Beautiful weather. We had 429 students that traded.
Thank you, Mr. What was also cool with the Special Olympics, many of your schools do this, but when you have athletes that are competing at the state level, they'll do like a district-wide clap out. So our students did a clap out for the students going to compete at the Special Olympics. It was, yeah,
Very good.
promise you with pride. Almost.
Any questions for the superintendent and any of his information items? Adult Ed Director's Report?
All right, so update on the tuition incentive program. We've had probably, 30 formal people starting the process, and it is a process. So this is not, again, I submit this a week in advance. So we are now 6 officially through the whole process. We have lots of people, taking the entrance test. Some have to retake parts. They're going and getting tutoring, so the FAFSA takes some time to process, but they're in the process, so that's good. STNA, this has been a work in progress since December. It is quite an undertaking to start a new course. I am in my final stages with the Ohio Department of Higher Ed. I cannot start advertising that course until I get their final approval. So we are almost there. So I'm super excited and proud of that. Firefighter courses, I cannot thank Tim Roomeister enough. We have added 2 additional fire courses this year based on community need. So we did not anticipate that, but that is what the community needed, and so you are voting on extra hours with him, and that is because we added 2 entire Fire 1 courses this year, and that's huge. So the current class we're doing Firefighter 2, I've got 16 students in that serving Medina County. That is incredible. Law enforcement, that is wrong. We had PT on Saturday. We had 2 additional students. We are at 8. I have 1 student that I will have to run with in 2 weeks because he is only 7 seconds short, and so I will get him there. Medical assisting update. Mark is here, and I am just super excited because we had, again, 18 years in a row, 100% passage rate for their CCI. It's awesome. So you should be so proud of yourself and proud of that program for you to be a part of that. Our award ceremony on June 29th. I'm again super excited. Those of you that can make it, that'll be fantastic. We are presenting 3 adult diplomas that evening. Mike Levesque will be our speaker that evening. And we have our medical pinning ceremony on Monday night that same week, which is a very powerful presentation if you have not attended in the past.
Thanks.
Okay, action items. Action items, out-of-state professional development. We've... Bob, your flashlight's on, just so you know. Sarah Bracken she applied to be a speaker and do a presentation at the National Conference of Teachers of Mathematics. Prior to the pandemic, we tried to send 1 career tech or 1 academic area each year. So it would go math 1 year, then social studies. So we have not sent anybody from math probably 7 or 8 years, to the best of my knowledge. So Sarah would like to attend that. The student handbook is there for your approval. Student fees are there for your approval. Several courses of study. The textbooks that were up for last month. Some donations of some end mills for the precision machining. And then specifically looking at personnel. And I really don't want to do this one. But the first item that you can see there is Carol Hawley submitted her letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement. Carol is here tonight. She is, and I'm not looking at you. She has been with this district for 41 years. She shows up every day with compassion, enthusiasm, and I would go on record and say that she, in my opinion, is probably the most passionate person in this building about what we do. So just wish her very well in everything that she does. She's amazing. And Janice also submitted a letter of resignation for the purpose of going to another district and securing another opportunity. And so we wish you best wishes and luck at the crew. So good luck to you. And then the LDAD welding instructor submitted his letter of resignation for personal reasons.
That's it.
Oh, it should
He's actually
have said.
electrical, he's not
Right, I just
welding.
now called that, so it
Yeah.
should have said electrical. And then you see a lot of students there that we are bringing back to student seasonal contracts, and the summer painting crew is back in full force. So for 11, A through G, I would ask for your approval and discussion.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Russo, may I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Noah, questions or comments on any of the superintendent's action items? Being raised, may I have roll call, please?
Mr. Huska?
Aye.
Mr. Noah?
Aye.
Mrs. Dane?
Aye.
Mr. Gillingham? Ms. Pritchard? Mrs. Pavlik? Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Mr. Mattson?
Aye, thank you. Executive session, I will need a motion to go into executive session for purposes of employment, compensation. May I have a motion, please?
Number action follow.
Action follows. Mr. Gillingham, number one, number
I'll
two.
second.
Val, thank you. All right, thank you, folks. You have to ask everybody to leave.